What is merit? The Buddha's perspective. Hook, curiosity. Some people never seem to ask for anything, yet life unfolds for them with a quiet sense of ease. Their days are simple, but their hearts are full. And then, there are those who chase endlessly, working harder than anyone else. Yet peace and fulfillment always feel just out of reach. Why does life treat people so differently? Is it just luck? Or is it something deeper, the unseen power of merit? Main body, story, reflection, and teaching. The Buddha once taught that our lives are shaped not only by what we do today, but also by the seeds we have planted, in this life, and in lives before. These seeds are called puñña in Pali, often translated as merit or blessings. But merit is not just about religious rituals or charity. It is the invisible wealth of the heart, earned through thoughts, words, and actions that bring benefit to others. Imagine merit as a quiet current beneath the surface of life. You cannot see it, but it carries you forward. Two people may face the same storm, yet one finds shelter effortlessly while the other struggles against the wind. Merit doesn't mean you will never face challenges. Even the most virtuous people encounter loss and pain, but it gives you a foundation, a resilience, a strange way of attracting the right help at the right time. Think of that friend who always seems to meet the right people, or who somehow receives help just when they need it. Is that pure coincidence? Or is it the ripple effect of a life lived in kindness, patience, and generosity? The Buddha would say, nothing happens without a cause. Example to bring it home. There's a story of a farmer in a small village. Every harvest season, he would keep just enough rice for his family, and quietly share the rest with neighbors in need. Years later, a great drought came. Many fields dried up, but his small plots still yielded enough to survive, because during those years of giving, he had unknowingly built bonds of goodwill. His neighbors took turns bringing him water, seeds, and labor. His merit was not a mystical gift from the sky. It was the natural return of seeds sown long ago. In today's world, merit can look like this: helping a colleague without expecting credit, listening deeply to a friend's worries, forgiving someone who never apologized. You may not see the reward immediately. In fact, sometimes, doing the right thing feels like a loss in the short term. But merit grows quietly. It doesn't need applause to thrive. Philosophical angle. From the Buddha's view, true wealth is measured not by what we keep, but by what we give. This doesn't mean emptying your bank account or exhausting yourself for others. It means living in a way that creates harmony around you, in your family, your workplace, your community. Merit is not a ticket to a perfect life, but it is a compass that keeps you aligned with what matters, even when circumstances are tough. And here's the paradox. Merit is both deeply personal and profoundly universal. You cannot transfer it like money in a bank account, yet the goodness you plant will always influence the world beyond yourself. Sometimes it comes back directly to you, sometimes to your children, your friends, or even strangers. A gentle challenge to the viewer. So I want to ask you, in the past week, how many seeds of merit have you planted? Not in a grand, headline-making way, but in those small moments when no one was watching. Did you let someone merge into traffic without honking? Did you choose patience over anger? Did you give your full attention to someone speaking, instead of scrolling your phone? What if, starting today, we all treated these tiny acts as precious investments? Imagine a world where our first question in the morning wasn't, what can I get today? But what can I give today? Personal reflection. I'll be honest, I didn't always believe in merit. I used to think life was purely about strategy, effort, and being smart enough to get ahead. But over the years, I've met people who quietly changed my mind. Like the retired teacher who never had much money, yet somehow traveled the world in her later years because her former students, now grown and successful, insisted on hosting her in every city she visited. Or the shop owner who lost his business in a fire, but within days, his community raised enough to rebuild it, simply because of the way he had treated every customer like family. They taught me this. Merit is not mystical luck. It is the invisible network of goodwill, trust, and love that you weave over a lifetime. And in moments of hardship, that network catches you. Closing. Invitation to next episode. So, when we talk about merit from the Buddha's perspective, we are really talking about the art of living in such a way that you leave the world better than you found it, and trusting that in return, the world will find a way to take care of you. In the next part of this series, we'll explore how to consciously build merit in your everyday life, not just through big acts of generosity, but in the small, often overlooked moments that shape who you are. Because sometimes, the most powerful blessings begin with the smallest of choices. The Potter's Secret: How Daily Kindness Becomes a Lifetime of Blessings. Long ago, in a small village in India, there lived a poor potter. His clothes were simple, his home modest. By most worldly standards, he had very little. And yet, he always seemed to have enough. Enough food to share with a neighbor, enough time to help a friend, enough warmth to greet every passerby with a smile. Everyone in the village loved him. His family was close and happy, his children respected him deeply, and his grandchildren adored him. There was a light in his eyes that no amount of gold could buy. One day, a traveler passing through the village stopped at the potter's shop. Watching the man work, the traveler felt a question rising in his heart. "Sir," he asked, "you live simply, yet you seem so at peace, so blessed. What is your secret?" The potter paused, looked up with a gentle smile, and said, "I plant seeds of kindness every day, and they bloom into blessings." A story that speaks across time. That answer might seem too simple. We live in a world that's obsessed with strategies, hacks, and step-by-step formulas for success. Be kind doesn't usually make it onto the top of that list. But what if the potter was onto something far more powerful than any quick fix? The Buddha taught that every action, no matter how small, plants a seed in the soil of our life. Some seeds sprout quickly. Others take years, even decades, to show their fruit. Kindness, generosity, patience. These are like hardy trees whose roots sink deep, quietly protecting us when storms come. From ancient village to modern life. Now, you might be thinking, that's a nice story for a quiet village. But what about in the real world? In the noise of cities, in the competition of business, in the chaos of modern life? The truth is, kindness works everywhere, though its returns may look different. I once knew a corporate manager who never raised his voice, never threw blame, even under intense pressure. People respected him, not just because of his position, but because of how he treated them. Years later, when his company downsized, he didn't have to hunt for work. Former colleagues and clients reached out, offering him opportunities before he even asked. His network wasn't built through aggressive self-promotion, but through everyday moments of fairness and compassion. He was living the potter's secret, planting kindness and letting it grow. Why this works, even when it feels invisible. Sometimes kindness feels like it disappears into thin air. You hold the door for someone who doesn't say thank you. You help a coworker and they take the credit. You forgive a friend and they hurt you again. It's tempting to think, why bother? But merit, or blessings, if you prefer that word, don't always return to you directly, and rarely in the exact way you expect. The Buddha's perspective is that every good act shifts the balance of your life, even if you can't measure it in the moment. Think of it like a savings account you didn't even know you were building. One day, when a crisis comes, you find out the account is full, not of money, but of trust, goodwill, and unseen protection. A gentle challenge to you. So, let's pause for a moment. If someone asked you for your secret, what would you be able to say? What seeds have you planted today that could grow into tomorrow's blessings? You don't need a pottery wheel in a sunlit village to start. Maybe it's calling a relative just to listen. Maybe it's letting someone merge into traffic instead of racing ahead. Maybe it's speaking calmly to your child when your patience is running thin. Each act might feel small, even forgettable. But over time, they become the story people tell about you, the way the villagers spoke of the potter. My own quiet lesson. I once met a woman at an airport whose flight was cancelled. While others yelled at the staff, she simply smiled and asked the agent how they were holding up. Hours later, when a seat unexpectedly opened on an earlier flight, guess who got it? Not because she demanded it, but because her kindness made her unforgettable in a moment when everyone else was forgettable. That day, I realized, kindness doesn't just make you feel good, it makes the world remember you differently. It plants seeds in places you can't see. Closing reflection. The potter's life may sound far away from ours, but his wisdom is timeless. In a world where we are told to push harder, climb faster, and hold tighter, he reminds us of a quieter truth. You don't have to force blessings to come. You simply have to plant them. And here's the beautiful thing. When you live this way, you don't just create a better life for yourself. You create ripples that touch everyone around you. Your children grow up learning kindness by watching you. Your friends feel safer in your presence. Your community becomes warmer because of the way you show up. So maybe the question isn't how do I get more blessings, but what seeds can I plant today? Because one day, you'll look around at the people who love you, the peace in your heart, and the gentle way life meets you, and you'll realize the garden you're standing in is the one you planted. The Buddha's definition of merit: planting the seeds of blessings. When we hear the word blessing, we often think of luck, something mysterious that drops into our lap without warning. Maybe you've heard someone say, "She's so lucky," or "He was just in the right place at the right time." But the Buddha taught something very different. In his words, blessings, or puñña in the ancient Pali language, are not accidents. They are the natural result of wholesome actions that arise from a pure heart. In other words, blessings don't fall from the sky at random. They grow from seeds you plant, seeds that you, and only you, can choose to sow. The 3 ways we plant seeds. According to the Buddha, every seed of merit is planted in one of 3 ways: through our actions, the body; our speech, the mouth; and our thoughts, the mind. Let's break that down. 1. The body, what we do. This is the most visible form of planting. Helping a neighbor carry groceries, offering your seat to someone on the bus, donating food to a shelter. These actions don't just help others, they shape you. Each time you choose kindness over selfishness, it's like dropping another seed into the soil of your life. But here's something important: the value of the seed doesn't depend on how big the action is. The Buddha often reminded his followers that even a cup of water offered with sincerity holds immeasurable merit. 2. The mouth, what we say. Words can build or destroy, heal or harm. Speaking gently, offering encouragement, telling the truth even when it's hard. These are seeds, too. I once heard about a teacher who, every morning, would greet each of her students by name with a smile. Years later, one of her former students told her, "Those mornings kept me going when I felt invisible everywhere else." That's the power of speech. You never know which words will grow into someone else's sense of worth. 3. The mind, what we think. This is the quietest, yet perhaps the most powerful way to plant seeds. You can act politely and speak kindly, but if your mind is filled with resentment, jealousy, or ill will, those seeds will show in time. The Buddha taught that pure intention is the root of merit. When we genuinely wish others well, even those who've hurt us, we clear the soil for blessings to grow. It's not easy, but think about how freeing it feels to release a grudge. That lightness you feel? That's the beginning of your merit blooming. Not random, but reliable. Here's the beautiful thing: merit isn't mysterious luck that some people are born with and others are denied. It's a law of cause and effect. Like planting an apple seed, you know what will grow if you care for it. When you act from a clean heart, speak with compassion, and think with goodwill, you are stacking the odds in favor of a peaceful, supportive, and fulfilling life. You might not see the results immediately, just like a seed doesn't sprout overnight, but in time, the roots grow deep and the harvest comes. A modern reflection. Think of someone you admire, maybe a mentor, a grandparent, a community leader. If you look closely, you'll notice that their good fortune is not random. It's the result of years, sometimes decades, of living in alignment with kindness, honesty, and generosity. People want to help them, trust them, and stand beside them because of the seeds they've been planting all along. I once met a man who ran a small coffee shop. His drinks were good, but what made his shop always full was the way he treated everyone like an old friend. When a local family lost their home in a fire, he organized a fundraiser without a second thought. Years later, when he was the one struggling financially, the community came together to keep his doors open. That's not magic, that's merit in action. The question we must ask: so, if blessings are the result of what we plant, then the real question is, what seeds am I planting today? It's easy to get caught up in chasing results, the promotion, the recognition, the comfort we crave. But the Buddha's teaching invites us to shift focus. Instead of asking, when will I get my blessings? Ask, what am I giving to the world right now? Because the giving is the planting, and the planting is what makes the harvest inevitable. A gentle reminder: you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to perform grand gestures. Merit is not built in a single day. It's built in the quiet repetition of good choices, in the way you treat the cashier at the store, in the patience you show your children, in the forgiveness you offer your spouse after an argument. Each thought, each word, each action, they are all seeds. Some will sprout soon, others much later. But as long as you keep planting with a clean heart, the blessings will come, in their own time, in their own way. Closing thought. So maybe luck isn't something we wait for, but something we create. The Buddha's definition of merit gives us back the power to shape our own fortune, to craft a life filled with peace, respect, and love. Tomorrow's blessings are being planted today, in every choice you make. The question is, when your garden blooms, what do you want it to look like? The misunderstanding about blessings, the Buddha's deeper lesson. When people talk about merit or blessings, there's a common image that pops into mind. Someone donating a large sum of money, sponsoring a charity event, or building something grand for the community. And yes, generosity with money is one way to create blessings. But here's the thing, that's only a small corner of the picture. Many people spend their lives believing that unless they have wealth to give, they cannot create merit. And so, they feel left out of the conversation. But according to the Buddha, blessings are not reserved for the wealthy. They are within reach for anyone, every single day. The overlooked ways we create blessings. A kind word spoken with sincerity. A thought of genuine goodwill. Even the choice to simply not harm another being. These are all acts of merit. They may not leave behind something you can photograph or put your name on, but they shape your heart, and that's where blessings truly begin. The Buddha once gave a simple yet profound teaching. A bowl of cool water offered with compassion carries more merit than gold or silver given with arrogance. Think about that for a moment. Imagine two people. One gives $1 million to charity, but does it for recognition, with pride in their chest and a camera ready to capture the moment. The other gives a single glass of water to a thirsty traveler, with nothing but the quiet wish that this small act might ease their discomfort. Which one do you think plants a deeper seed in the soil of the heart? Why intention matters more than scale. In our modern world, we are used to measuring impact in numbers. Dollars donated, people reached, likes, shares, views. But the Buddha's wisdom flips this thinking on its head. Merit is not measured in size, but in purity of intention. A grand gesture without compassion is like a tree with hollow roots, impressive to look at, but unable to last. Meanwhile, a tiny act filled with love and sincerity can ripple outward in ways we may never see. I once heard a story of a bus driver who, for years, greeted every passenger with a smile and a good morning. One day, a man stayed behind after all the passengers had left and said quietly, "You don't know this, but those words kept me alive through a very dark time." No money changed hands. No headlines were written. But that, right there, was pure merit. The hidden power of restraint. Another misunderstanding is thinking that merit only comes from doing something active, giving, helping, speaking up. But the Buddha also taught about the merit in not doing harm. Have you ever been in a heated argument where you wanted to say something hurtful, but you chose to hold your tongue? That's merit. Have you ever had the chance to take advantage of someone's mistake, but you chose fairness instead? That's merit. Sometimes, the blessings we create are invisible to others, because they live in the harm we prevented from happening. It's like tending a garden. Sometimes growth comes not from what you plant, but from what you keep out. Bringing this into our daily life. So, how do we start living this truth? You don't need to wait for a perfect moment or a big opportunity. The path to blessings is already beneath your feet. It's in the way you look at the barista when you take your coffee. It's in the patience you show a coworker who's having a bad day. It's in the decision to listen more and judge less. If you have money to give it with humility. If you have no money, give your time, your attention, your kindness. And remember, the smallest seed, when planted with love, can one day become the shade under which many find rest. A personal reflection. I'll be honest, I used to think merit was something big people created. People with platforms, people who could cut big checks. But life kept proving me wrong. One of the most humbling moments I ever experienced was during a trip to a small village. An elderly woman, who clearly had very little, offered me a simple meal she had cooked. I tried to refuse, knowing it was likely a large portion of her food for the day. But she smiled and said, "If I can share, I am rich." That meal, offered with such sincerity, taught me more about blessings than any book I had ever read. What this means for us. If you've ever thought, "I can't help, I have nothing to give," remember this. Your smile might be the only kindness someone sees today. Your patience might be the reason someone keeps trying. Your silent choice not to hurt might save someone from carrying a heavier burden. The Buddha's teaching here is radical in its simplicity. Merit is not about wealth, status, or scale. It is about heart. And the heart is something we all have, regardless of circumstance. Closing thought. So maybe blessings are not some distant treasure that only a few can access. Maybe they are a living thing, growing from the soil of our everyday lives. And maybe the truest measure of merit is not how much we give, but how deeply we care. Next time you wonder if you're making a difference, remember the bowl of cool water. Simple, unremarkable, yet priceless when given with love. Blessings and the law of cause and effect. What the Buddha really taught. Have you ever done something kind, maybe years ago, and completely forgotten about it, only to one day, in the most unexpected way, find life returning that kindness to you? Some people call it luck. Others call it karma. The Buddha had another way of explaining it. The quiet, patient unfolding of merit. The nature of blessings. Blessings, or merit, are not like fireworks that burst instantly. They're more like seeds planted in the soil of life. You can't rush them. You can't always predict when they'll bloom. Sometimes they sprout quickly, like when a small act of generosity instantly warms someone's heart and changes their day. Other times, they lie dormant for years, quietly waiting for the right conditions before they reveal themselves. The Buddha taught that blessings never disappear. They don't expire, and they don't get lost in the wind. Instead, they sleep, resting in the deep soil of cause and effect, until the right moment comes for them to bear fruit. When merit ripens, that fruit can take many forms. It might be the gift of good health that carries you through decades. It might be meeting the right person at exactly the right time, someone who opens a door you didn't even know existed. It might be the strength to remain calm and steady even when life storms try to shake you. Imagine someone who has spent their life offering kindness without keeping score, helping neighbors, speaking gently, being fair in their dealings. Years later, when they face illness, they find themselves surrounded by people eager to help. That's not magic. That's not random. That's the seed finally breaking through the soil. The other side of the equation. But here's the part that's easy to overlook. Blessings can also be spent. The Buddha compared merit to a kind of spiritual wealth. You can accumulate it, and you can also consume it. Every time we harm, deceive, or act out of greed, we are withdrawing from that unseen bank account. Sometimes, we withdraw faster than we deposit. And here's the danger. Just as someone can go broke by spending recklessly, we can run low on blessings by living without mindfulness of our actions. Why this matters in everyday life. This isn't about fear. The Buddha never meant for this truth to make us anxious. It's about awareness. If you knew your future well-being, your future peace of mind, even your future opportunities were shaped by the seeds you plant today, wouldn't you choose carefully? Think of a farmer. They know that planting healthy seeds now ensures food later. But if they neglect the planting season, they can't expect a harvest. Life works the same way. Every choice, every word, every thought is a seed. The quality of tomorrow's harvest depends on what we plant now. A personal reflection. I once met a man in his 70s, gentle and soft-spoken, living in a small coastal town. He told me that in his youth, he often gave away part of his fishing catch to families in need, even on days when he barely had enough for himself. Decades later, when his eyesight began to fade and he could no longer fish, the entire community made sure he never went hungry. He smiled and said, "It's strange. I thought I was helping them back then. Turns out, I was helping my future self." Patience and trust in the process. In a world addicted to instant results, this teaching is a reminder that the deepest rewards take time. You might not see the effect of your kindness tomorrow or next year. That doesn't mean it's wasted. Some seeds are slow-growing trees. And here's the beauty. You don't have to keep checking the soil to see if the seed is sprouting. Keep planting. Keep watering. Life has its own timing. The balance we must keep. Of course, the goal is not just to build blessings for ourselves, but to live in a way that naturally benefits others. When we make a habit of kindness, generosity, and non-harm, blessings grow quietly in the background while we go about our lives. But if we get careless, letting greed, anger, or pride steer our actions, we start consuming what we've stored. Over time, that can leave us feeling unlucky or unprotected, when in truth, we are simply seeing the result of seeds we've planted in the past. A question for you. So maybe the real question isn't, will I be blessed? But what seeds am I planting right now? If your future self could speak to you, would they thank you for today's choices? Or would they wish you had been more mindful? Closing thought. The Buddha's teaching on blessings and cause and effect isn't about superstition. It's about living with intention. Every act of kindness is a deposit. Every act of harm is a withdrawal. And unlike money in a bank, this account follows you through every chapter of your life. So today, maybe you offer a smile to a stranger, forgive an old grudge, or simply choose not to speak the hurtful words on your tongue. Small things, yes, but each one is a seed. And someday, when the time is right, those seeds might just grow into the shade that shelters you in life's hottest summer. The two faces of blessings, seen and unseen. When most people talk about being blessed, they usually mean the obvious things, the kind you can see, touch, count, or post about on social media. A good job, a healthy bank account, a safe home, a family that's together and thriving. These are what I'd call the visible blessings. And they matter. They make life comfortable and secure. But if you've lived long enough, you know there's another layer to blessings, one that's harder to photograph, but far more precious when life gets hard. These are the invisible blessings, the visible side of fortune. Visible blessings are easy to notice because they show up in ways that the world measures and celebrates. A promotion at work, the loan finally approved, the kids doing well in school, the doctor saying, "Your test results are clear." They give us stability, opportunity, and a sense of progress. And let's be honest, they also make life feel good. It's human nature to smile when things are going our way. But here's the truth, visible blessings can be lost. Jobs change, markets fall, health shifts. If our sense of being blessed is built only on the visible, then every change in life can feel like a crisis. They're hidden treasures. Invisible blessings are different. They're the treasures you carry inside, often without even realizing how valuable they are, until you need them. It's the deep calm that lets you breathe steadily when bad news arrives. It's the clear mind that helps you make a wise choice when others are panicking. It's crossing paths with the right teacher or mentor at the exact moment you're ready to grow. It's walking away from an accident you shouldn't have survived. These blessings don't make headlines, but they shape the quality of your entire life. The person who truly has fortune. The Buddha once taught that a truly fortunate person is not simply someone who has more wealth, more possessions, more power, but someone who fears less. Think about that. If you have millions in the bank but live in constant fear of losing it, are you truly blessed? If you have a perfect-looking life on the outside but an anxious, restless mind on the inside, can you really call that fortune? Real blessings, the kind worth holding onto, bring a sense of ease, less worry, less fear, less clinging. They make you feel safe, even in an unsafe world. A story to remember. I once met a woman in her 50s who had lost almost everything in a house fire. Her furniture, her clothes, even years' worth of family photographs. But when I spoke to her, she was calm, almost serene. She said, "I still have my health, my hands, my mind, and the people I love. Everything else can be replaced." She had both visible blessings, a supportive family, a community ready to help, and invisible ones, resilience, gratitude, and the wisdom to see what truly mattered. In that moment, I realized something. Invisible blessings are what make visible ones worth having. Why we overlook the invisible. Part of the problem is that invisible blessings rarely demand attention. A healthy mind doesn't knock on your door each morning to remind you it's there. The absence of danger is silent. Wisdom whispers, it doesn't shout. It's only when these blessings are gone that we notice how much they were carrying us. A restless mind makes even a safe home feel unsafe. A lack of wisdom turns opportunities into mistakes, cultivating both kinds of blessings. The beauty of this teaching is that you don't have to choose between visible and invisible blessings. You can build both, and they support each other. When you live with kindness and integrity, you create trust and good relationships, an invisible blessing, which in turn can lead to visible blessings like new opportunities and help when you need it. When you practice mindfulness and patience, you gain inner peace, and that calm can help you make smarter financial or career choices. A question worth asking. So here's something to reflect on. If all your visible blessings disappeared overnight, what invisible ones would you still have? Would they be enough to keep you steady, hopeful, and ready to rebuild? And maybe the deeper question is, what am I doing today to grow the blessings no one can take away from me? Closing thought. Visible blessings make life sweeter. Invisible blessings make life livable. The first can fill your hands, the second fills your heart. Together, they create a kind of wealth that no disaster, no downturn, no thief can ever touch. So celebrate the visible, the promotions, the milestones, the comforts. But never forget to nurture the invisible, the peace of mind, the wisdom, the unseen protections that carry you through life's storms. Because in the end, a truly blessed life isn't just about having more. It's about fearing less. Why some people seem to flow through life. Have you ever noticed how two people can be in the exact same situation, yet have completely different experiences? One handles things with ease, almost as if the universe is gently moving obstacles out of their way. The other seems to attract problems, delays, misunderstandings, even accidents, one after another. Most people think the difference is purely about skill, intelligence, or luck. And sure, those matter. But sometimes, it's something deeper. Something you can't measure with a resume or test score. In Buddhist teachings, it's called blessings, or puñña, the good fortune that comes from the seeds we've planted through past actions. The subtle force behind smooth sailing. I remember once working on a project with two colleagues. Both were talented. Both had similar experience. But here's what happened. Whenever unexpected problems came up, one of them would magically find someone willing to help, or a solution would appear almost instantly. The other. Every fix seemed to create two more problems. It wasn't that one was smarter. It was the energy they carried into situations, shaped by years of small choices. One had a habit of treating people with kindness, offering help without being asked, and staying calm under pressure. The other, well, let's just say they often thought only about what they could gain. Over time, those patterns add up. People remember how you made them feel. Opportunities flow more easily toward those who give more than they take. And even when the situation is hard, there's a kind of invisible support system that shows up. It's not just luck. We often say, they're just lucky. But luck is usually random. Blessings aren't. Blessings are built. Think about someone you know who's always in the right place at the right time. Do you think that happens by accident? Or could it be that the kindness they've shown, the integrity they've lived by, and the compassion they've extended have created conditions where help naturally finds them? It's like planting seeds in a garden. You might not see the sprouts right away, but the roots are growing. And one day, when you need it most, something blooms right in front of you. A personal observation. I once got caught in a sudden downpour while walking home. No umbrella. Soaked in seconds. I passed another man also without an umbrella, but before he even got wet, a friend pulled up in a car and waved him in. Now, maybe that was just coincidence. But when I talked to him later, he laughed and said, I've got a lot of good people in my life. I try to help them, they help me. That's blessings in action. Not magic, just the natural return of what you've been giving to the world. How this shows up in everyday life. Blessings can make the difference between an argument that turns ugly and a disagreement that ends in mutual respect. Losing your job in a cold email and having a former coworker call to offer you a new position. Walking away from a car accident unharmed, or barely escaping a far worse outcome. It's not that blessings make life perfect. Everyone faces storms, but they can change how you go through them, with more support, more solutions, and more moments where things just work out. The quiet work of building blessings. Here's the part people often overlook. Blessings are usually built in quiet moments. You don't have to donate $1 million or make some grand gesture. Sometimes, it's as simple as speaking gently to someone who's having a bad day, choosing patience over frustration when things don't go your way, doing the right thing even when no one's watching. These acts may seem small, but they shift the way the world responds to you. Over time, they create an invisible reservoir of goodwill, safety, and opportunity. A question for you. Think back over the last month. In your hardest moments, what showed up to help you? Was it a friend's call? A stranger's kindness? A problem that solved itself at the last minute? Now, imagine living in a way that multiplies those moments. What would your life look like if help always seemed to arrive right when you needed it? That's the practical side of blessings. Not something abstract or mystical, but a very real shift in how life unfolds around you. Closing thought. Two people can walk the same road under the same weather, and one will arrive dry while the other is drenched. The difference isn't always skill. Sometimes, it's the blessings they've been carrying all along. So while you're building skills and chasing goals, don't forget to also build the invisible, the goodwill, kindness, and trust that quietly open doors for you in the background. Because when life storms hit, you'll be grateful for more than just your talent. You'll be grateful for the blessings that keep you moving forward with ease. The everyday practice that quietly changes your life. Most of us wake up thinking about what we need to get today. Get work done, get bills paid, get ahead. But what if I told you there's something far more powerful than getting? Something that quietly works in the background, shaping the way life unfolds for you? It's called planting blessings. And no, it's not some mystical ritual. It's a practice you can weave into every single day. In moments so small, most people overlook them. 1. Helping when you can, even in the smallest ways. We often think we have to do something grand to make a difference. But in truth, the universe doesn't measure generosity by the size of the gesture. It measures it by the heart behind it. Maybe it's holding the elevator for someone who's running late, or offering to carry a bag for an elderly neighbor, or sending a text to check in on a friend you haven't heard from in a while. I remember one morning, I saw a man struggling to push his stalled car across an intersection. 3 people walked past without even looking. But one young woman, probably late for work, put her coffee down, ran over, and helped him push it to safety. I could see the gratitude on his face. But here's the thing, I think that moment planted something just as valuable in her life. 2. Speaking words that heal, not harm. Words are like seeds. Some grow into shade trees, others into thorns. Every time we speak, we are planting something in the minds and hearts of others. It's tempting to let frustration spill out as sarcasm, gossip, or harsh criticism. But those words don't just land on the person you're speaking to, they echo back into your own life. In Buddhist teaching, that's called karmic speech. What if, instead, you used your voice to encourage, to soothe, to remind someone of their worth? You might think, well, it's just a few words, it won't matter. But years from now, that person may still remember the exact sentence you spoke that made them believe in themselves again. That's a blessing you can plant without spending a cent. 3. Keeping the heart clean. Here's a truth that's uncomfortable to admit. We all feel envy sometimes. We see someone with a life, the career, or the relationship we want, and there's a little tightening in the chest. That's human. But here's the danger. If we keep feeding that envy, it turns into resentment. And resentment is like a slow leak in your blessings. It drains peace, joy, and even opportunity. Instead, what if you train yourself to notice those feelings and gently let them go? To choose admiration over jealousy? Think of it like keeping the water in your garden clear so your plants, your blessings, can grow without poison in the soil. 4. Rejoicing in the success of others. This is one of the most underrated practices for building blessings. When you hear someone else's good news, do you feel happy for them, truly happy, or does it sting a little? In Buddhist tradition, there's a beautiful practice called mudita, or sympathetic joy. It's the art of celebrating someone else's fortune as if it were your own. Why? Because when you do that, you align yourself with abundance. You send a message to your own subconscious, and maybe to the universe itself, that you're ready for joy in all its forms. The compound effect of small choices. Think of blessings like drops of water filling a jar. One drop doesn't look like much, but add them every day, and one day you realize the jar is overflowing. The way you hold a door for someone, the way you choose not to speak ill of a person who hurt you, the way you silently wish success for a colleague instead of competing. Each is a drop. Over months and years, they create a reservoir you can draw from in times of need. Moments when help arrives unexpectedly, when peace holds steady in chaos, or when opportunities land at your feet without you chasing them. A personal reflection. There was a time in my life when I thought blessings were random, like winning the lottery. Some people got them, others didn't. But the more I paid attention, the more I realized the people who seemed lucky weren't waiting for life to hand them something. They were planting blessings daily, often without realizing it. One friend of mine, for example, never misses a chance to help. Need a ride to the airport? She's there. Struggling to move furniture? She's there. And you know what? When she faced a personal crisis, people lined up, literally lined up, to be there for her. That wasn't luck. That was the return on years of quiet generosity. A question for you. If you look back over the last week, how many blessings did you plant? Not just big ones, but the tiny ones that might have seemed insignificant in the moment? And here's the better question. How would your life look a year from now if you made planting blessings a daily habit? Closing thought. Blessings aren't something you wait for. They're something you grow, drop by drop, word by word, choice by choice. You don't need wealth, fame, or power to start. You just need the willingness to leave people and places a little better than you found them. Because one day, when you least expect it, all those small seeds will bloom, and you'll find yourself standing in a garden you planted without even realizing it. Why money can't buy blessings? We live in a world where almost everything has a price tag. A bigger house, a better car, even a last-minute plane ticket. If you have enough money, you can usually make it happen. But blessings? True blessings? Those you cannot buy. 1. The illusion of buying goodness. I've seen it more times than I can count. Someone donates a huge sum to charity, sponsors a public project, or funds an entire event. On the surface, it's noble, admirable. But if you look closely, sometimes the heart behind it is calculating. It's done to be seen, to be praised, to polish an image. The photos get taken, the articles get written, and the public claps politely. But inside, the blessing is thin, like a coat of paint that chips the moment life rains down. Because blessings don't just come from what you give. They come from why you give. 2. The strength of a pure heart. Now, on the other side, imagine a small act. A woman notices a stranger digging for change at the checkout counter. Quietly, she slips a few bills to the cashier and says, "Cover it for him." She doesn't wait for thanks. She doesn't take a photo. She just walks away with a smile. That act, tiny compared to $1 million donation, can carry more spiritual weight if it's done from a place of pure kindness. It's like carving into stone. Solid. Unshakable. 3. Why the heart matters more than the size. Think of blessings like seeds. If you plant them in clean, rich soil free of ego, calculation, or resentment, they'll take root and grow for years. But if you plant them in polluted ground, it doesn't matter how expensive the seed was, it won't last long. Money can buy attention. It can buy recognition. But it cannot buy the kind of invisible grace that shows up when life tests you, when you're spared from a disaster, when help appears out of nowhere, or when peace stays with you in the middle of chaos. 4. A personal story. I once met an elderly man at a small temple in the countryside. He had no wealth to speak of. His clothes were worn, his shoes frayed. But the moment you sat with him, there was this warmth, a peace that seemed to radiate from him. Curious, I asked the locals about him. They told me he spent his life quietly helping, fixing roofs for neighbors, watching people's children for free, walking miles to deliver medicine to someone too sick to travel. He never asked for anything in return. When he fell ill, the entire village came to care for him. People brought food, washed his clothes, sat by his bed. And here's the thing, he wasn't surprised. He simply smiled, as if to say, "Of course, this is just the natural return of what you put into the world." 5. The danger of transactional kindness. We all need to be honest with ourselves. Have we ever done something good but secretly hoped for a reward? A thank you? A favor in return? It's human nature to want recognition. But the moment kindness becomes a transaction, it loses its purity. And without purity, blessings become fragile, like glass that shatters under the smallest pressure. True blessings are built on selflessness, on the willingness to give without needing the world to know you gave. 6. The quiet test. Here's a question to ask yourself. If no one could ever know about this good deed you're about to do, no photos, no stories, no credit, would you still do it? If the answer is yes, that's the kind of action that carves blessings into stone. That's the kind of seed that will grow even in the darkest seasons of your life. 7. What lasts and what fades? Money fades. Recognition fades. Even buildings we donate to build will one day crumble. But the goodness done with a pure heart leaves a different kind of mark, one that lives in the memories, the hearts, and perhaps even the destinies of those we touch. Sometimes the universe rewards you in ways you can see, a job opportunity, a stroke of good luck. Other times, it's invisible, an accident avoided, a deep peace in the face of loss, a sudden solution to a problem you thought was impossible. 8. Closing reflection. We often chase visible results, but blessings aren't a performance. They're a quiet exchange between your heart and the fabric of life itself. You don't need to be rich. You don't need grand gestures. You just need to keep your intentions clean, to give because you can, to help because you care, to love because it's who you are. In the end, Blessings are less about how much you gave, and more about how much of yourself you put into it. Blessings are not magic. We often hear people talk about blessings as if they're some mysterious magic, a gift from the universe, a stroke of luck, something given to a chosen few. But here's the truth: blessings are not magic. They are not random. Blessings are the result of what we plant and how we plant it. 1. What you plant, you harvest. Every single day, through our words, our actions, and even the quiet thoughts no one else can hear, we are planting seeds. Some seeds grow into kindness, trust, and connection. Others grow into conflict, resentment, and fear. And the harvest we see tomorrow, the relationships, the opportunities, even the peace in our own hearts, all of it comes from the seeds we are planting today. It's not a matter of fate choosing favorites. It's a matter of cause and effect. You can't plant weeds and expect roses to grow. 2. The beauty of choice. Here's the wonderful part. No matter who you are, no matter where you've been, you can choose the seeds you plant starting right now. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to have perfect circumstances. You just need to decide, today, that you'll plant something better than yesterday. Smile at someone who looks like they've had a rough day. Speak words that heal instead of words that wound. Be generous not because you expect a return, but because it's in your nature to give. These things may seem small, but the smallest seeds can grow into the most surprising blessings. 3. Breaking the myth of too late. Some people believe they've already missed their chance, that their past mistakes have locked their future. But blessings don't work like a locked door. They work more like a river, and the moment you start changing your course, the water eventually flows in a new direction. You can begin again. Right here. Right now. 4. Everyday proof. Think about it. Have you ever seen someone turn their whole life around just by making small, consistent choices? A neighbor who used to be distant but started greeting everyone with warmth. A coworker who was always negative but slowly began offering encouragement. It's not magic. It's the harvest of seeds they decided to start planting differently. 5. A simple truth. Blessings don't arrive because you wish for them. They arrive because you live in a way that makes them inevitable. And when they do arrive, they don't always look like a windfall of cash or a stroke of obvious luck. Sometimes they show up as a sudden sense of peace you can't explain, or an open door you didn't even know existed, or simply the ability to sleep soundly at night because your conscience is clear. 6. The first step. If you're wondering where to start small. Pick one seed you want to plant today. Maybe it's patience. Maybe it's generosity. Maybe it's simply refusing to speak ill of someone, even when you feel tempted. And then, tomorrow, plant it again. And again. Over time, you'll find that your life begins to shift, not because you forced it, but because you've been quietly reshaping the soil you're standing on. 7. The most powerful part. And here's the most powerful truth. Anyone, in any situation, can begin this process. You could be in the middle of financial struggle. You could be recovering from a broken relationship. You could be starting over after losing everything. It doesn't matter. The soil for planting blessings exists everywhere, because it exists inside you. 8. Closing reflection. So remember this: blessings are not a miracle that just happened to you. They are the natural outcome of the seeds you plant with your heart. And the most incredible part? You can start right now. You don't need permission. You don't need a perfect plan. All you need is the choice to plant something good, today, and again tomorrow, and the day after that. 9. Tease for next video. And if you're wondering what kind of seeds bring the fastest and most lasting blessings, in our next video, we'll explore exactly that. We'll talk about the 4 kinds of seeds you can plant that almost always return to you tenfold, and why most people overlook them. Because if you've ever felt like life is giving you less than you deserve, maybe it's not about luck at all. Maybe it's about what you've been planting.